And she asks, how can teachers take care of themselves to make sure they can support student social emotional learning? And I love this question because we know traumatized students create traumatized teachers. We know that, teachers and students do not live in a bubble from each other. It's all right. It's all right. We love dogs. It's okay.
I gotta get rid of it.
Alrighty, so as we're thinking about that, I think that as we're thinking about really being able to support students and their social emotional learning, these are 3 practices. Don't worry about it. It's all right. We're teachers, right? We're flexible. We're used to that. That's just like somebody coming in over the intercom in the middle of class. Everybody gets it. But as we're thinking about teachers taking care of themselves, I think there are a few things that we can do. Certainly one of those is to nurture our inner learner. I know it sounds kind of trite, right? Take care of yourself, take care of yourself. I mean, I want to go get a pedicure too, and I will, right? I take care of yourself in that way. But I think there's a different kind of taking care of yourself that we as teachers really need to make sure that we bring into this conversation. And I think it really focuses on what it means to take care of our learner selves. So what does it mean to put ourselves in new situations, in uncomfortable situations as a learner, socially, intellectually, so that we remember what it feels like to walk into a room and not know anybody, right? Or to walk into a room and feel like nobody here might talk to me, and then be able to respond to that in the classroom. Yes, those are 2 things that I think are really important for us to do in order to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I always say is that when I get, and actually this is a question I've answered on Teacher to Teacher before, when I feel myself falling into that place of I can't handle it, it's too much, I turn to a book.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm.
I find a book that's going to make me feel uncomfortable in the sense of something I haven't done or I haven't tried, whether it's looking up a new teaching strategy, whether it's looking more into blended learning, which I'm now immersed in, bringing technology into the classroom, and how uncomfortable that makes people when you move away from that traditional classroom setting, and especially for the same thing for the kids. This is a new way of learning, and I try to find a book.
I love that.
When all else fails, and if I'm really at a place of I can't do this, it's Kids Deserve It. I have read it 3, 4, 5, 10 times, but I will walk on the treadmill and just read that book, and it will bring me back.
Well, I think what's so powerful in that example for me is I hear you talking about the power of story. I hear you talking about what happens when we get in one of these ruts or one of those tough waves or whatever you want to call it. And we start to tell ourselves this story, this narrative that might be hard for us to get out of. And what I hear you saying is that you're giving yourself a new story. You are going to a book, whether that's, and for some people it might be podcasts, for some people it might be music, for some people it might be other people, right? But you're going to this other source to fill us up. It reminds me of and I know I've talked about Parker Palmer before on here, who's just always been my compass really when it comes to teaching and learning. And he says that we teach who we are. And I fully believe that if we don't take care of ourselves and we don't do the kinds of things you're talking about, we don't nurture that inner learner within ourselves, we have nothing to teach from. And we're not going to be able to pay attention to kids. We're not going to be able to listen because we have nothing to give. We have nothing to start from.
And I think that filling the bucket, whether it's filling your own bucket or, many times it's also digging deep into what is troubling a child.
Absolutely.
I think that's sometimes another opportunity that is there for us to heal us if we can reach another child who is probably in a way worse scenario than we are
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things, being 14, 15 and struggling with
for sure.
whether it's gender, whatever it is.
Right, for sure.
It's reaching that kid can make that bucket, can fill that bucket just as quickly and as easily as that book or
Yeah,
as the pedicure. But
yeah, yeah.
it can bring you back.
You used a word that really struck me. You said the word heal. And when I think about this conversation about social emotional learning and then how it really progresses into thinking about restorative justice, that word heal becomes really central to this idea of what restorative justice is all about. So I think maybe we should move to that topic and just talk a little bit about that. But